So again, on the finish, we talk about the head staying behind the knee. The move the drive hip past the block hip, that's what you were seeing in that clip of Carter. The shoulders really do stay level to the ground for the most part. While this is pulling down, you're going to get a little bit of this. But when you coach, again, I don't do too many cues that are like overcompensation cues. But if you tell a kid to maintain level shoulders, they're going to wind up here. If you tell a kid to pull down, they're going to pull, right? It's, again, due to the amount of time to react. So if I'm telling a kid to try to maintain level, they're going to get that slight little thing, but they're going to have a much better squared up delivery. The shoulders stay level to the ground, like I said. The shoulder stack, no inverted C. Does anybody in here teach the inverted C? Okay, you guys all know the inverted C, right? Okay, I don't teach the inverted C. It's not an inverted C. It's a knee in, knee, hip, shoulder. Stretch reflex puts the head back. That's not, right? I've had kids, right? I see a lot of kids because obviously I coach privately and I see kids from all over. I see who has a good coach. If somebody has a good coach, they're probably not coming to see me. You know, unless they have a good coach, Matt Kinetic's coach, we were like partners. He did a mentorship and he came to all the practices and I taught him my system and all his guys use our system and he produces really good throwers every year now. But we don't do a C, right? And that's what's really critical to understand. Does that make sense? We don't ever throw the shoulders back. We don't throw the head back. When the hip is in front, stretch reflex puts the chin up, right? That's a response. That's not a throw the head back. When you have kids who start throwing the head back, they start throwing their head too far. You lose power. So obviously elbow up, thumb down, real basic stuff. But here's those posture limitations again. If you got a kid who's got abducted scaps, you see how many kids you see hold the shot like this, right? You see a lot of it. I see a lot of girls doing this too, right? Well, why? Because their scapula is abducted, right? It's not retracted. As soon as when the scap's retracted, the elbow is going to sit in a better position. When the scap's, protracted, you're going to see this. So you've got a kid who's got the scap retractors, external rotators are weak. So you can coach yourself till you're blue in the face, and until you fix that, they're never going to deliver the shot right. So they're going to get frustrated and quit. That's what I was saying. I had some kids, like I said, on my list. They had no business throwing far. And I got them into college on a scholarship. No business throwing far. Okay? But the system maximized every ounce of what that athlete could do. You have a question? Oh, I thought I saw. Okay. So key thing, too, with the block is understanding where the block arm stops, right? It stops in front. Most people should know that. You see kids doing this. That's usually, again, a reaction. Where am I looking at the problem? A lot of the problem goes back in the chain. So it's not just telling the kid do this or get their chest up or stop their arm earlier. It's understanding that they probably opened at some point, center mass is shifting, path of the left shoulder is probably coming back, and that's what's stopping the arm maybe behind them instead of here, right? So path of the left shoulder through delivery is key. And that's why I'll tend to coach, again, I look at kinetic chain, and I don't expect everybody to fully start understanding, becoming, anatomy experts, but it's really important to understand. I mean, ground influence is the biggest influence, and the length of the upper body, right? This is these external and ground drivers that influence the throw, that influences movement in everything, in every sport. So the block leg, the other thing is, oh, go ahead.
20 more seconds on how you keep that left arm block.
Key thing is with the block is it's always path of the left shoulder. So if I'm in that coil position and I maintain that coil, so we'll teach thumb down, right? Because that's going to help me create this protracted scap and it's stretching. So when I'm staying over it, I have this natural, see this? That keeps me back. If you tell a kid think arm, they're not thinking shoulder, and they're going to think arm. So this is going to tend to pull them forward. How about that coaching cue? I've seen that. You know, it's interesting. There's a lot of stuff on the internet, and and you see some people teaching to throw the arm, and that most average athletes, you'll see. I've seen videos, multiple videos of advanced coaches coaching advanced athletes or collegiate athletes at Division I universities teaching this. Well, a freak, right, guy in the 99th percentile, he'll kind of figure it out. He intuitively can sense what that means. You take an average athlete, and you tell him to swing his arm, and it's going to be a disaster, right? So we do a simple drill called a block arm stop, and we're teaching to bring it here. So the mechanics of that are important. Like I joke around, Jason Harrell, my discus thrower, he's top 5 in the U.S. now. He is the worst finish of any guy in the top 10 in the United States. His finish sucks, and I tell him that. He's 26, so he can handle it. But the thing is the mechanics of what he was taught was to pull around. So his wrist is below his elbow. So if you look at any elite thrower, wrist is above the elbow, right? That's how you you engage the back this way. You disengage the posterior muscles when you put the wrist below. So a simple adjustment when they're doing a block arm drill is to get the wrist always above the knee. It pulls in. Now you feel your back. You'll engage your lat, your scapular retractors, right, posterior shoulder, and that's what gives you that nice, violent stop. Still see some kids who will come around, right? You see a lot of that. I have the kid last year, Tyson, who was the state leader. He's already thrown further than his PR in training. He comes around a little early because he was taught to jump. Yeah, I mean, honestly, just teaching the really hard block arm. So we teach to stop in front, and when you notice, and we can go do a few drills. I figured this presentation would run around an hour, and we'd probably have 20, 30 minutes for Q&A and to go through and some of those things. But when you really work here, the harder you're hitting this arm, it becomes a reaction to hit the ground harder because you can't stop here and have a passive leg. You'll feel yourself kind of pull. So the block arm stop is this type of movement, and then you feel that how it connects the upper body and lower body. 25 minutes left? Okay. So again, no jumping. I know that kind of can get taught to start to teach kids to reverse. They start to teach them to jump up and kind of turn in the air, and that's a detriment. The longer time on the ground, through the leg, pushing through the block. Remember, it's transfer of momentum. So everything is designed to go out, not up. And it's just like, no, if you have something going fast this way, and then you make it go this way, then all the energy goes this way. And if you have something that's moving this way fast, and then you can push back against that energy, then everything slingshots this way. That's transfer of momentum. So that's what the physics say. The physics say, no, if you go vertical, you're going to go vertical. I want energy going this way, right? So that's why it's key to understand. Inside of the foot, the 7 o'clock, you're pushing off, you're pushing back. Right? And then I've seen some other things too. People say you stay on a soft leg. Again, when you're working with elite kids. But he already didn't block well, so to think on a bent knee didn't work. You have to push back. Pushing back helps create hip rotation. Does that make sense? So when I land at 7 and I drive back, it's going to help me facilitate faster rotation of the hips. That's what you want. So this is accelerating. That's what's tough to learn. That's where your drills come in. That's where working every pillar becomes key. This is the only way you're going to get. So I know Coach Hickles, obviously, I moved here a few years ago, and I know he's producing guys, right? So he's doing a lot of good things, clearly, right? You don't produce guys year after year not doing certain things right. So, but you have to drive through. You're going to feel that faster rotation. Everybody can add these little details in. Okay, does that make sense? Let's see. So again, I kind of said that no inverted C, hip and shoulder in a vertical stack. You can really see it on Storl through the finished knee, hip, right? He's almost slightly forward. There's no backwards. Again, you see that in rotational shot, people teaching that. It's the same thing in the rotational shot, which we'll talk about this afternoon. And let's see. So this is what we usually progress from. So the key thing that I want to kind of start wrapping up with is that the pillars are to help you understand what's happening at each phase, right? So it's so much easier to work on those things, and then to be, it's the old Karate Kid thing, right? Wax on, wax off, paint the floor, sand the fence, right? And then this is a bunch of crap. Right now he's like kung fu, karate master, right? And it's the same principle. You have to work the thing. You get them through. There's an understanding of how each thing moves, and then to put that together becomes a lot more natural. Okay, so when we go from when we're connecting everything, we put together. We do a sequence. This is our 5-step sequence. We're working on all the pillars. So the pre-block really works pillar 6. A pre-block is we're already set. We have a restricted, wind up the knees at 9 because we're already basically here. So we're just working delivery. So I always coach my athletes. We're not trying to throw farther. This is not a stand throw. This is a pre-block. We're working specifically on the block side and the delivery side and how that sequence is short and quick. Right? When I'm here, it's just, you just feel it fast. Bam. Okay? We go to a stand throw, teaching stand throws. I'm a big proponent of teaching it right. When you're not setting up the stand throw, this is what I said. See, I have a whole stack of kids that have come in this year, and they stand like this. So they got all this weight on the left side. So as soon as they go, their hips are already too far forward. So they have to learn how to get over. So we always say set the angle and then load. So now it's here, and too many kids do this. So your kids with those weak hamstrings and those weak external rotators, they're going to push the knee. Now they're already out of position. So as soon as they go, they're already shifting out. So their stand throws are wrong. So stand throws are critical. Spend a little more time clearly, early season or off season. But we got to make sure that they're understanding and executing right. The rhythm, that's the kinematics and kinetics aspect of your training. They have to understand the flow of how that works, right? It's over and here. That's why you see, top throwers tap it, right? They're at the maximum point of tipping over. This is keeping you from tipping over. Most kids are doing this. So they pick up the foot, right? If you can see, if I just pick up the foot, I'm moving. If I'm over it, pick up the foot, I've got more load. I can smash it. So that's what we're going to be working on stand throws. A glide wheel is what we refer to, right? Is just the right foot set and moving into the position, teaching them how to get on top of the right and move the right side into the throw. Most kids will do this. Again, same thing, weight on the foot. So as soon as I pick this up, I'm moving. I need to get over it so I can move on top of it, staying back and over. Simple drill. Most kids will pick up on that fairly well once you set it up right, and then they'll throw better off of that initially than they will a glide, because now putting together the whole thing is what becomes tricky. Okay. A glide jab is basically like a high glide. We talked it a pop and go is what we used to refer to. Call it just a jab. So we're just going to kind of be a little bit less dynamic, and we're just lowering and we're just feeling that, right? So we kind of already have a partially extended kick leg, so that you're just getting a sense of teaching the kid how to drive, and then feel that kind of quick double extension, and then we move into a full glide. We're working all pillars, and that's where we're going to really focus on setting up and really feeling that load and coil. So we're in here, and you can kind of feel them as they come forward. This is why a lot of those throwers pop up onto the toe. They're not consciously coming up. They're loading it. So as you load on it, it pulls you out. That's a response. You come down and go. So that's the big key. Let's see. So basically, this is how the system is. It's a true system, right? We try to simplify the complexity. It sounds kind of complex at times, but it really is pretty simple. Cameron, who's filming for me today, who's going to be coach at Cactus High School. He's going to Grand Canyon. He's my little skinny guy who threw like 154 feet. In high school, we put on, almost 20 feet. Won his league title out in California. But he ran through this system. And the biggest challenge we have is as a private coach, when you come here and really have coaching, there was really no coach, or one coach spread out too thin, was a head coach doing 9 million things, couldn't really adequately coach. So we had a lot of bad habits. So I think that's the thing that the system helps do, as well as break the bad habits. So we go beyond progressions. We're looking at the key thing with the pillar system is it allows you to train the deficits that each kid has. So it's not just everybody's going to do drills, 1 through 30. It's, here's drills 1 through 30, and this kid needs, drill number 2, 5, 11, 15, 21, and 30. And this other kid needs, 2, 5, 7, 8, 14, 22, because those are their weaknesses. So that's what we try to do, and looking at those common variables of posture issues. The key thing is that we use it as it's a language, so it gets throwers to conceptually understand the mechanics of the throw pretty quickly. So my kids now, they hear me, okay, you're not setting up your pillar 2, you're breaking down in pillar 3, and it also helps me for my assistants, right? So when I hire assistants, I teach them my system, because I can't tell a kid one thing and then somebody's screwing them up. So I got to say, no, this is how we say it, this is the goals, these are the objectives. The language helps the kids understand. You tell a kid pillar 3, he knows exactly what you're talking about. You tell him pillar 5, he knows exactly what you're talking about, and still they're kids. So do you understand what I'm talking about? Yeah, okay, tell me what I mean. I don't really know. Okay. But it does really accelerate that curve. And that's why I think Cameron will do a good job. He's 2 years in my system. He's going to be studying the system now as a coach instead of an athlete, and he'll find out how hard it is to coach. Okay. So